Hey everyone, Brad the mechanic here, working on a 98 Jeep Grand Cherokee. We are going to be replacing the upper and lower ball joints and the U-joints in the axle. And first things first, we're going to remove the wheel. Well, actually first things first. Get it jacked up and get your jack stand under there. And then you can remove the wheel. Now, always take your wheel, if you can, throw it underneath the vehicle. An extra safety precaution just in case it falls. So now, we're going to take the tie rod end off, which is going to take this cotter pin, take it out, loosen this nut, and then we're also going to be removing the wheel speed sensors. So you're going to want to unplug that. There is an 8mm screw back there. And you can remove that. And then take the wheel speed sensor out. Take it out of these grommets. Like that. And then move it out of the way so that you can continue working without damaging it. Alright, we're going to start by lubing this up a little bit. That'll help us out. Then get your needle nose pliers. I try to straighten them out as good as I can before trying to pull this out. But as you can see, it's already starting to come out. Sometimes they don't come out that easy. But if you get your needle nose inside the hoop, and then you can pull it out. Okay. This is a 19 on here. So get that off. Set the nut down. Now, this isn't just going to pop off of there. You're going to have to smack it right here, not on the tie rod, on the actual knuckle itself, right here, and it'll pop loose. And I will show you how that's done. Let me get my bigger hammer out here. I'm going to smack it right here. And boom, it pops out of there. So now, I'm going to take the wheel speed sensor off with the 8mm. I can see the 8mm bolt right there. I'm going to remove that very carefully because you don't want to break this. It broke loose, so I'm going to take my time, make sure everything's nice and lubed in there. Yeah, you definitely don't want to break this because if this breaks, you're going to have to drill and tap the knuckle once you remove the knuckle, which we will be doing, but you don't want to have to do it because it's a pain in the ass. So we'll get that removed. And this, you wiggle a little bit and it comes out. Then we're going to take it off of here. And remember to just be gentle with this kind of stuff because you don't want to mess it up. Kind of pop it out of there, and now I already took it off on the other side. You saw that earlier. I'm going to move this out of the way, put it back here so that I don't mess it up with doing the job. Okay, so this side's pretty open. These are to take the wheel bearing hub assembly out, which we'll be taking those off here in a little bit. So I'm going to shoot them. We're going to hit this too. everything that we're going to take off, which I'm doing these, I might as well hit them while I'm in here. Everything that we're going to take off, I'm going to lube up as good as I can. Lower nut. Okay. So now we're going to take the brake caliper off, which is two 14 mil nuts over here. Ooh, zoomed in a little bit too much there, but yeah, there's going to be 14 mil nuts right there, ding ding, and then right there. So we're going to get those taken care of real quick. Alright, just to show you guys something. Inside here is the piston to the brake caliper, and it's clamped pretty tight on here. So in order to loosen this caliper up, I'm going to stick my screwdriver in here, and I'm going to pull like this, and if you can see, it's pushing the piston in just a little bit so that I can remove this caliper a little bit easier. Okay, so I got the caliper off. These are actually 13 millimeter bolts right here, or 1/2 inch. And then you remove that, you loosen the piston up, wiggle that off. It's kind of hard to get off because of the brake pads. They have these notches. So it comes off a certain way. The bottom comes out first, and then the top comes out. Now we got to smack this rotor. Well, I guess we don't. That was easy. Sometimes you got to smack them to get it off. So now that we are in here, we are going to take this axle nut off. That's going to be the next thing, and we're going to remove that, and then we are going to be able to take this bearing out, because the bearing has to come out in order to get the knuckle off of these ball joints. So in order to do the ball joints, you have to take this wheel bearing off. So remember this. So the 3 bolts that have to come out, 1, 2, 3, there's one on the other side, they're really dirty and corroded on these ends, so I hit them with WD, or with rust penetrant, and then I'm going to clean them up as good as I can, because it's going to make them come out a lot easier. Rather than bringing all this crud through the threads, I'm going to clean as much of it off as I can. Before I start loosening them. Alright. So the next thing is to break these loose. As you can see, they're 12 point, not 6 point. So you're going to have to make sure your socket is a 12-point socket in order to get that to work right. So sometimes when I can't get these, if it's really tight and I don't want to use my breaker bar, I'll put my knee under it and I'll push up to use a little bit more pressure to get that out. So these are going to come out decent, looks like. Take all 3 out and then we'll move on. Alright, so I got those 3 bolts out. They are 13 mil, 12 points. Now I got to take the axle nut off, but you can take that off at any time, really. I could have done it before this, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to tap this up, get that cotter pin out of there. There's another little washer here, and the axle nut. Size of this sucker. 36 millimeter. I don't know what the American equivalent to that is, but it's a big honker. Take that off. Now, if you don't have an impact, you might have to take this off while someone holds the brake for you. If you can't get to it while the wheel's on, because the wheel will turn when you try to take it off. It's best to just do it with an impact. It makes it a lot easier. And then get this washer off. You don't really want to bang on this too much. It's already pretty loose, so that's good. So now we gotta hit this. Since we're not replacing the wheel bearing, we don't want to hit it here because that can mess up the bearing itself. So we're going to try to hit it here a few times and get it knocked loose and see if we can get it out of there. Once it comes loose a little bit, it'll come loose. What I'm doing is I'm hitting it and turning it back and forth and getting it to slide. And when it does that, it loosens up. Yeah, just coming along. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it'll come off. Alright, baby. So, yeah. We'll just bang on it a few more times and she'll come off there. Just keep going back and forth, this way, back and forth. Like turning it clockwise and counterclockwise. Okay, so, got the bearing popped out. Hit it back and forth a few times. I did hit it here just a little bit just to pop it out, but if you hit it hard, it can mess it up. So, this is going to come out of there. And you can see if it's good or not. It's good. So now this actually has to come out in order for the make sure you don't set this in dirt or anything. Make sure you set it somewhere that's clean. Not gonna get shit all over it. And then always clean this area out inside here, so that when you put it back together, it goes a lot easier. Because this is why it wasn't coming out in the first place. There's all this debris and rust and corrosion in here. Okay, so now we're going to take the ball joint nuts off, upper and lower, and see how that goes. Hopefully it goes just fine. So got the cotter pin out. Now it's a 7/8 is what I'm using right now. I'm going to get my other wrench on here. And before I do that, I'm going to make sure I'm turning it the right way, which would be this way. And then make sure it's turned all the way so that way, you know, it has something to push against. And that'll come loose. Just like that. You could probably get a ratchet on there if you really wanted to, because there's enough room. Finish taking it off of this wrench since I'm already here. And mind this bracket right here so that you put it back on when you put it all back together, because you can put the axle or put everything back together, the ball joint on, and forget to put this on. So you want to make sure you put that back on, this piece, because it holds the wheel speed sensor from getting in the wheel and the axle and getting messed up. So this is about off of here, and I'll show you the little bracket that is here that holds the wheel speed sensor. At this rate, I should have it off in about 2 more hours, so stay tuned. So be a good time for a commercial break or something. Good, this is taking a while. It's like the world's finest threads. In the Guinness Book of World Records. Okay, so got the nut off. Castellated nut. This is that bracket that holds the wheel speed sensor. So on to the next thing, which is taking this bottom axle or ball joint off, which it looks like the cotter pin is still accessible. Sometimes they're not accessible and you have to just spin this piece and it'll shear the pins off, which I think is what I'm going to have to do with this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wiggle these until they pop off, just like that. And then I'm going to get my big wrench or whatever I have to get that, and I'm going to loosen it, and it's just going to shear that nut, the cotter pin off, which is what we want. Yeah, I'll show you guys how this all is going to go down. Alright, so I got it on there. It's 1 5/16". I'm sure there's a metric equivalent for it, but I'm going to try to shear that, which I just did easily by turning that. Hopefully. Yep. Now I'm just going to keep on removing that, which I should grab the ratchet, but I'm going to try this a few more times. It'll come loose. All right. Time to kick that up a notch. See if I can get it off with the impact. Is there enough room? Yeah. All right, so now we got both ball joints loose, or I mean the nuts off. So I'm gonna have to smack, just like I did with the tie rod ends. I have to smack these to get them to release from the knuckle. So it's going to be kind of hard getting this one. Here, this is the part that's holding it. So. And there you go. It got both off at the same time. So now, time to press these out, which is going to be the next step. Alright, so I got the ball joint press on there. And you can see how I have it set up. You'll probably just have to figure it out with whatever press you have. But this is going to pop it out so that we can get to the lower ball joint, which I think it just popped out. Okay, so it should come right out. Up goes the weasel. There's a floating bearing Wasn't terribly bad, but the lower ball joint, oh shitty. The lower ball joint is bad, really bad. So I'm gonna pop that out, kind of the same way as I did the first one. All right, got the other one set up. This one gets pushed down, so I have that on there. I'm actually gonna set that on there, and then this one. Oh wait, no, yeah, is that it? No. This one, because this goes right onto the no, wait, what am I doing? I'm pushing it down. Oh yeah, so it can go inside of this cup. And this one is big enough to go on the outer diameter of the ball joint. It doesn't touch the ball joint, it goes on the outside of it. So we'll tighten this up. I'm going to put another piece on the bottom here. Wait, oh, actually it has a part to hold it, so that'll be good. And we'll push down this ball joint, push this right out. Usually you put something on top of here, but I'm going to try to push it out just like that and see what happens. The other side was really hard to take off, so we'll see how this one goes. Get a little leverage on it. That popping sound is good. That's either the ball joint coming loose or it breaking when you push it on top of it. But what it looks like is it's pushing it right out, nice and easy. If you don't have a ball joint press, you can rent one from like AutoZone or Napa or wherever you go. It'll make this job a lot easier. I mean, you really couldn't do it without the press for the top ball joint. There's just no getting around that. You have to use a press. As you can see, this is coming out, pushing down just right. Boom. So I'm going to take this off. And now the next step is going to be taking our knuckle, and we're going to, I did clean it out, but I'm going to clean it a little better and make sure that's ready to go. And then I'm going to get the ball joints. We're going to have to press them in there. I'm going to clean out the holes. You got to press the ball joints in there, and then I'm also going to be doing the U-joints right here, which are not that good on this truck. So we're going to replace them. Yeah, it's junk. And then, yeah, we'll get to put it back together. So now we are taking the C-clips off. I got it in a vise, and these C-clips got to come off before we can just take the axles or the U-joints out. Now make sure you're wearing your safety glasses when you do this, because these things come flying off of there almost every time. So I got those two off. Got to get these two off. Now it's going to be a little bit tougher because it's not going to be able to be held. You can barely see where these things end here. Right there. So yeah, use your use a little chisel and a hammer and get those C-clips off, and then we'll start removing it. So you missed me doing the U-joints, but they were a pain in the ass. So now we're going to put these ball joints on. This you can see this cup goes right around and hits the rim of this. And that's going to go up in here. And I'm going to put this through here. Hopefully it'll fit. Let's see if it'll fit. If not, we'll have to do something else. No, that ain't going to work right. So, we will shorter. So still a little bit short. I have to put a shorter one like this right here. That's how I did it. There you go. Then we'll tighten this down here. Usually you would want just to show you the right way to do it. This goes up in here, and what you should use is this piece that I'm going to put on the bottom here, and that makes it so it doesn't slip off or anything. Then, this is going to be nice and safe when I put it on. It's not going to slip off or anything crazy. Make sure everything's lined up when you get it starting to get tightened up. You want everything straight. Like so. Try to move this so you can see it. Just adjust your stuff so it's all centered. This should go in nice and easy. You guys see it going in there good? Yeah. I'm going to show you something that's important, and it can make your life a lot easier when doing this job. Almost there. It'll stop when it's all the way in there. Just like that. Hello. Boom, just like that. Everything comes apart. Ball joint is nice and in there. You don't want to move it too much. You want to keep that boot on there. Okay, so now we're going to put the knuckle on before we put this upper ball joint in. It's going to make it go on a lot easier. It's going to make it easier for us to do it this way. First, you're going to want to get your nut ready. Get your nut. Not that one. This is going over here. Open it up. Get your sack with your nut in it. And your cotter pin and your other shit. It comes with a bunch of stuff that you don't need because it fits a couple different vehicles, this ball joint kit. Oops. I think it would help if I put it on the right way, don't you think? Yeah. I throw a washer. And then this nut. Now you can see this nut is a lot smaller than the original one. I wouldn't necessarily say that's a good thing, but okay. So you see this has got to go on before the axle even goes in there. So we get this on. I'm just going to have everything hand tight for now. And then we are going to get the, I guess I could put the other ball joint in. It's not going to be hard to do, but I'll just show you guys. So this has to go in between here to get this to stay. Or you want this underneath here, because it ain't gonna. It's gotta go right here. So it's gonna push up like this, and then this is gonna slide over like that, and then you can put the ball joint right through there. Now this just gets. Let's see. Let's make sure this is all the way on there. Nice. Okay. Yeah. So you want to make sure that's on there, and then you can hit this in with a hammer if you want. Make sure you cover it with a part of your bearing or ball joint kit, install kit. You want to make sure that you're putting this on there before you do that. Make sure it's going in on all angles. Oopsie. A little grease. Well, a couple more hits on there. Have to get some elbow grease. There it is. One more. Perfect. Okay. So now you can install the supplied Zerk fitting to go on the top of here so that you can grease it later. It comes with grease in it, but you're going to want to remember to grease that every time you change the oil, stuff like that. It'll prolong the life of your ball joints greatly. It's the little stuff that can really end up costing you money in the long run. Get that on there. So that's on there. See, it's a little bit easier than sliding this on with these both on there, because it becomes a pain in the ass. So now I'm going to take this, put this up here, just like that. We're going to tighten these down. We got to put cotter pins on there. I'm going to make sure that this is all up there nice and good. I want this to be sealed. So make sure that your rubber seal goes up and around the whole thing. So now, before you put all this on there, you're going to want to tighten these down. As it gets tight, you want to really get it real tight on there, and then make sure that you're lining up the marks on your castle nut with the hole for the cotter pin, so that the cotter pin will go in easily. Go. Cotter pin right through there, bend it down. That one's good. Okay, now the lower ball joint. I don't know what size that is, but it's pretty hefty. Pretty hefty size there. This is actually a 24 mil on the new one. And then you're going to again want to line up your holes with the cotter pin. Which I can't see the holes yet. So, hole for the cotter pin is right there. Pin these tabs down, like so. Ooh, and that's on there. Now, ooh, feels good. You can put the axle in. Then, wheel bearing. We're going to clean up this bearing. Even though we cleaned the inside of there, we're going to clean the outside of the bearing really well so that it goes on easier. Line up your bolts, get those in there. There we go. You want to get those started in there. You don't want to tighten them all down yet. You want to get them all started and then tighten them down. Because that'll, because if you tighten them all up, if you tighten one up at the same, right when you get it in there, when you go to put this one in, it might not line up because you got to wiggle it to get it to go in. Like that. Walk them all in slowly. Bring the bearing in. Don't forget the one in the back. Owie. Nice and easy. So we got that on there. Now we're going to put the axle nut on. That. So washer. I gotta put on first. There it is. You gotta remember to put stuff on the right way. tight, wheel bearing nut's tight, the ball joint nut's tight. Now we can start putting this all the way back together. Since we got this open, oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't put on this bracket. So we need to take that off and put it on. You gotta do things the right way, because if you don't, it's gonna come back and bite you right in the ass. Why did I have to put these cotter pins on so well, huh? So yeah, this is part of making sure you do things right the first time, so that you're not doing this shit, which is spending time taking a part off and putting it back on because you forgot. And you'll be able to see which way this goes on. It only goes on a certain way. Come on, baby. Okay, so get that on there. Tighten it. Now, it will be a little harder with this in the way, but this is how it is. Gotta be tight. On there. Getting her tight, line up the cotter pin holes. Cotter pin to it. Get it through there. That's why it's important to make sure that it's lined up with the cotter pin holes, so that they don't give you a problem. Sometimes you gotta lift this up just to see. I'm gonna have to tighten it a little bit more. Just a little bit. There we go. Got that in there. We'll push it in a little further. Make sure it's safe. Okay, now push that back down. Bring the wheel speed sensor out. Put it through here, onto the connections. Let's see if I get this right. So it goes like that. Okay. So I gotta figure out how all this has to go. This little 8 mil here. So there's a little hole that the sensor has to go in. It won't fit in there right if you don't put it in the little hole. So you gotta make sure you get it in there. Because if you don't, it won't go in like it is right now. That hole's perfectly lined up. I don't see why it's not going in. There she goes. When she gets started in there, get your ratchet on it. Remember, not too tight. Tight is tight, but too tight's loose. Remember that. You don't want it too tight. Okay, now that's all out of the way. We can put the brakes and the rotor back on. We're just about done. It's my other fucking glove. Okay. There it is. Got it. So we're gonna put this. We gotta after we haven't put the washer and the little retainer on the axle nut, which you gotta do, and then put the cotter pin through that. And make sure it's all pushed back so that it will come out. There we go. I'm going to throw the rotor on. Brakes. Now these brakes, remember, they're a pain in the ass to get on. You got to do them a certain way. This guy has the wrong brake pads on the wrong side, so I have to do it differently just to get the thing on. Jesus, come on. There we go. Make sure those brake pads are on there. Lined up. Boom. Just like that. And get your other two 13 millimeters. Right here. Put those in. Get them lined up. Sometimes they don't want to line up, but they always will. All right, get that tight, the other one tight. All right, get this other in the clip back here. It must have came out when we were messing with it. go. That's all the way. Rotor's on there. Brakes are on there. Now it's time to put the tie rod end on there. Now, hopefully this won't spin inside the tie rod end when I put this on. Nope. I need the cotter pin for that, which is probably in fucking Narnia by now, but I just need a cotter pin of some sort. Here we go. So you get the cotter pin in there, bend it, make sure it's not going nowhere. Now, you put the wheel on. Remember my trick here, using your elbows and your knees as the fulcrum to lift up the wheels, so you don't have to use your back. Us little guys need to figure out how to do that without hurting ourselves. Alright, now just make sure everything's tight, make sure you go through everything, make sure everything's good and tight so that you didn't forget anything. Make sure you take your jack stand out, let it down, take it for a test drive, and then see what you think. Like and subscribe. I'm going to make more videos, so keep watching them. Peace!